I just got a special package from China. But before that, a quick shout out to our sponsor, Paperlike. The iPad's glossy display makes using the Apple Pencil a bit, well, lifeless. But thanks to Paperlike's nano dot technology, you can bring that feel of paper to your iPad and get this super nice tactile experience. Write, sketch, and create with ease whilst keeping your screen crystal clear and protected by checking out Paperlike using the links below. Now, I'm not 100% sure what's in this package, but I am 90% sure that it should be a one-to-one accurate case model for the iPhone SE 4 that's coming out very soon. But first of all, I have to give a shout out to Sonny Dixon for sending me this, and I hope it's the right package. Like, imagine if I'm just making this video, but it's like a random product. Okay, almost there. Oh, okay, I think there's a couple of things inside. So what do we have here? We have very well packaged, with some red bubble wrap. And it is an iPhone from the looks of it. And yes, it is. Look at that. The new iPhone SE 4. Right, so this is a case model that case manufacturers would be using in order to make their cases for the upcoming iPhone SE 4. And in terms of dimensions and design and literally everything, this should be perfectly accurate. Don't believe me? Well, let me show you something. So this is not the iPhone 16. This was the case model for the iPhone 16. And this is the actual iPhone 16. So you can tell that the color was a bit off, but I mean, other than that, everything was exactly the same, like even the buttons. And yeah, so this iPhone SE 4 dummy unit should be very accurate to the real deal. And I gotta say, just holding this in my hand feels so interesting, like so unique. This phone feels very, very minimal and very classy. So how does it compare to the current iPhone SE, and what sort of changes are we going to get? Well, the current iPhone SE, the iPhone SE 3, released in 2022, had the same design as the iPhone SE 2, whereas the iPhone SE 1 before it had this iPhone 5S style design. This had 6, 7, 8 style design, and this is now supposed to have a brand new design which should resemble the iPhone 14, and of course 15 and 16 as well in some regards. So what's changed? Well, the first change, and really the biggest one, is, as you can probably tell, the size. The iPhone SE 4 is significantly bigger compared to the iPhone SE 3. Then the frame is fully flat now, so it is no longer rounded like it used to be on the previous iPhone SE. And then as you can see, the home button is now finally gone, as we now have Face ID as opposed to Touch ID. I know that some people still swear by Touch ID, but for me, Face ID is just miles better and also faster. So we finally have an iPhone SE that resembles the other modern iPhones in the lineup, as opposed to this previous design that was recycling the iPhone 6's design for quite some time now. I'm pretty sure that we're also going to get some really nice looking colors with the SE 4. I'm assuming maybe some vibrant ones like the iPhone 16 series, but maybe some new colors entirely. Like, I would love to see a yellow or a red, both of which we haven't seen in quite a few years now. In fact, if you want to buy a red iPhone, the only option you have is the iPhone SE 3, which, keep in mind, was released in 2022. No modern iPhones have a red color anymore. So what other changes do we get? Well, as you can probably see, we get a much bigger display, a 6.1-inch panel as opposed to the previous 4.7. And on top of this display is also going to be OLED as opposed to the previous LCD. So basically any content is just gonna look significantly better on the new SE compared to the old model, with perfect black levels and amazing looking colors. On top of that, the brightness is also going to get bumped. So on the SE 3 and 2, we had a super dim display of just 625 nits. The new SE is said to have the same panel as the iPhone 14, which means that the brightness should be 800 nits in SDR and then 1200 nits in HDR. So pretty much double the maximum brightness of the old iPhone SE 3. Which brings me to the camera. So as you can probably see, the camera module on the new SE 4 is significantly bigger than compared to the SE 3. Well, that's because according to the leaks, the iPhone SE 4 should be getting a much larger 48 megapixel sensor as opposed to the SE 3's 12 megapixel sensor. In fact, this is actually said to be the same sensor that Apple has been using in the iPhone 15 and the iPhone 16. So if we take a look at how much the camera module protrudes compared to the old SE, it is a significant difference. Just look at that module. And yeah, compared to the iPhone 16's camera module, it does seem to protrude roughly the same. So okay, what sort of benefits does this larger, newer sensor give us? Well, I would say the biggest ones would be the 2x sensor crop, which actually works really well on the iPhone 15 and 16, so that's great to have, especially since we do lack a telephoto module. And then also 24 megapixel photos by default as opposed to 12. Of course, you can also shoot in 48 if you really want to do that, but having literally double the resolution has actually made a significant difference going from the iPhone 14 to the iPhone 15. So this is going to be a massive upgrade when it comes to the overall image clarity and sharpness. Then another upgrade is going to be Smart HDR5. That's compared to Smart HDR4 on the iPhone SE3. And to be honest, going from Smart HDR4 to Smart HDR5 on the iPhone 15 Pro did actually make a significant difference in terms of image processing, as we no longer had those blown out skies like before. But probably the biggest camera upgrade for me would be night mode. I don't know if you guys know this, but the iPhone SE3 actually had no night mode at all. So low light photos were just horrible. So of course, when you combine night mode with this newer and larger sensor, you're going to get a significantly improved low light performance for, well, photos by default, but I think the videos should be improved too, again, thanks to that larger sensor. And even though this hasn't been leaked, I also believe that the front camera would be getting an upgrade too, from the 7 megapixel f2.2 aperture on the SE3 to a 12 megapixel f1.9 aperture on the SE4. Why do I believe these specs to be the actual ones? Well, that's because a lot of the components that the SE4 would be using are said to be from the iPhone 14, and these are the front camera specs of the iPhone 14. Now, aside from the camera, another big upgrade is when it comes to the specs and the overall performance. So we are said to be getting either the A17 Pro or, more than likely, the A18 chip inside with 8 gigabytes of RAM for Apple Intelligence as opposed to the A15 with 4 gigabytes of RAM. So we're not just getting a big performance boost because of that, but also RAM management is going to be significantly better. And of course, we're also getting Apple Intelligence on the iPhone SE4 because of that chip, which means that all 2025 iPhones will support Apple Intelligence. And also, thanks to this new chip, we would be getting hardware-based ray tracing support and the ability to play AAA titles such as Resident Evil Village, Assassin's Creed Mirage, Resident Evil 4, Death Stranding, and more. On top of that, we're also more than likely getting more storage from 64 gigabytes to 128 on the base. Why? Well, that's because that's the minimum amount of storage that the A17 Pro chip and the A18 chip came with. And on top of that, I'm also expecting a much better battery life. So we had 15 hours of video playback on the SE3. However, the iPhone 16, for example, that also comes with the A18 chip, this one has 22, so pretty significant difference. Now, I do believe that the battery will be a bit smaller in the SE4 than in the iPhone 16, just to differentiate them a bit more. So I'm expecting about 20 hours on the SE4, but this is literally just a guess. Now, January has been quite an intense month for me, traveling to Samsung Unpacked in San Francisco and to Slovenia with Honor the week before. And while I've been busy, we've dropped 9 new packs in our app wallpapers. Here are my top 3, starting with Fluid Fusions by Hane. This pack has that clean Apple aesthetic, but it also looks stunning on the S25 Ultra and the Pixel 9 Pro as well. Number 2, Calm Currents by Woolrod. This is another striking landscape pack with a body of water that splits the frame perfectly. And number 3, Chinese Celebration by Ali. This stylized pack actually comes with 12 designs for the very first time for each of the zodiac animals, and I just love cropping in and being able to create my perfect lock screen that way. Let me know your favorites in the comments down below, and you can check out close to 1,500 8K wallpaper designs in our app Wallpapers for iOS and Android, which you can download for free by using the links below. Another upgrade is going to be USB-C. You can probably see from the dummy unit that we've got USB-C on the iPhone SE4 compared to Lightning on the iPhone SE3, which is just so convenient to have. Like for me, ever since I got my iPhone 15 and I switched to USB-C, I just cannot go back to using Lightning again. I just love having one cable to charge all of my devices, or almost all of them aside from my AirPods Maxes. And speaking of charging, another upgrade that we're getting with the SE4 is actually a really cool one, and that's MagSafe. We do not have MagSafe at all on the SE3, now we're finally getting it with the SE4, which means that we'll be able to use a wide range of MagSafe accessories, from chargers to docks and just way more. And water resistance is also likely to be getting updated on the SE4. So we had a 1 meter resistance up to 30 minutes on the SE3. I do expect this to be bumped to 6 meters, 30 minutes, just like on the iPhone 16. Then emergency SOS is also very likely coming to the SE4. This can be a lifesaver, and it's honestly so awesome to be able to send iMessages through satellite to not just the emergency services, but also to friends and families. That's just awesome. And I'm also pretty sure that we're going to see the ultra-wideband chip inside as well for finding and locating your iPhone much more accurately, and also AirTags. So we'll finally be able to use precision finding if you've got AirTags as well. So what about the price? Well, the SE3 currently costs $429, which is, well, a lot for what this phone is. The SE4 will be more expensive. My guess is $499, just so that Apple still keeps it under $500, which compared to the iPhone 16, I would say is still a pretty good deal, as despite a $300 price difference, you're actually getting most of the features that the iPhone 16 comes with. So what is it that you're not getting in that case? Well, as you can probably tell, you're not getting that dual camera module on the back. You only have a single lens, which, like I said, is likely going to be the same, but you are missing the ultra wide, which I would say is quite nice to have in a lot of situations. And obviously, I'm not just referring to the ultra wide aspect of it here, but also the fact that you can shoot macro photos with that ultra wide, which of course you won't be able to do on the SE4, and also spatial video and spatial photos, since we do have two separate lenses here. In fact, the iPhone 16 even has a separate spatial menu and a camera app that you can use for shooting spatial photos or spatial videos for the Apple Vision Pro. Now, another thing that you're not getting on the SE4 is the action button. As you can see, that is missing from the SE4, as we only have a regular mute switch. And I do really love having the action button, like being able to set it to pretty much anything you want, not just apps, but also actions and commands. Like you can even set it to open up your garage door if you want. So yeah, the action button is pretty cool. Now, something else that we're also not getting is the camera control button, which, to be honest, for me, this has been mostly a gimmick. Like, I do use it to quickly launch the camera, but when it comes to that, force touch gesture, I've actually disabled that on my iPhone, because a lot of times when I was holding my iPhone like this, I would accidentally trigger a lens switch or an exposure change, so I would mess up my photo because of that. So yeah, just turn that off. Something else that we also won't be getting is a dynamic island. So this is the iPhone 14 for comparison. The SE4 is said to have the exact same display as the 14, so a notch is very likely going to be there, and slightly thicker bezels as well. I do kind of wish that we had a dynamic island so that the entire iPhone lineup would look the same from the front, but I do get why Apple would likely not include this, because they kind of want this to look cheaper and more affordable than the rest of the iPhones in the lineup. On top of that, you're also getting a brighter display with the iPhone 16, so 1000 nits versus 800 in SDR, and then 1600 compared to 1200 in HDR. And then outdoors, this display can go up to 2000 nits, so it's gonna be crazy bright compared to, well, just 800 on the SE4. So outdoors, the difference is going to be pretty significant. And I also expect the battery life to be a bit better on the iPhone 16, 22 hours versus my prediction of 20, that'll be my guess. And then also Wi-Fi 7 as opposed to possibly Wi-Fi 6E. But yeah, all in all, I would say between the iPhone 16 and the iPhone SE4, the ultra-wide is really the main difference that most people will care about. Is that worth $300 more? I would say no, but you guys tell me. So at the end of the day, will the iPhone SE4 be a good phone for $500? I would say yes. You're getting flagship performance, a flagship camera, even though it's, just one. Yes, you are getting a 60Hz display, which does suck, but other than that, for around $500, I would say that this is actually a pretty killer deal, especially for an iPhone. Now, it should be launching in March, so definitely stay tuned for that. And yeah, do subscribe for more updates on the iPhone SE4. Check out our app Wallpapers for some stunning designs in 8K for your smartphone, tablet, and desktop. And yeah, stay tuned for more updates as soon as we've got them. I'm Daniel, ZONEofTECH, and I'll see you guys in the next one. ZONEofTECH, signing out. Cheers.